The winter, cold, dark, and in the whole, pretty miserable. And it's pretty slow going when the trails are all covered in mud. Plus, you've only got about 8 hours of daylight, so you've really got to cram that riding in. Hot, dry, and dusty, and the trails are pretty much as hard as tarmac. And the bonus being you've got 16 hours of daylight to get those rides in. So how do these seasons affect the range of your battery? The idea for this ride is to see how far this bike will take me before the battery goes flat, and also the time it's going to take me in both the depths of winter and the heights of summer. Now, not only will we be taking a look at the time it takes to complete the ride, our average and maximum speeds, and of course heart rate, but critically, even though I'm guessing here, how much further we can potentially travel before that battery goes flat. It's January here in the UK, and we've been subject to rain for the past 3 or 4 months. We've also had some snow last week to make things that little bit more interesting. The conditions out on the trails are horrendous. Thick, deep mud and loads of water on the trail means that it's going to be very slow going. This means that I'll probably have to attack some of the climbs in turbo mode just to make it up them. I wonder what it's going to be like in July. Whew. Yes, I could definitely get used to this. The last 2 months of weather has been absolutely prime, meaning the trails are running really dry and dusty, my absolute favourite time of the year to be riding. And the best of this is I can smash a lot more miles out in trail and eco, meaning I'm going to need turbo for some of those brutal climbs. The bike I'll be using for both these rides is the Specialized Levo SL. It's weighing in at sub 17 kilos, it's got a full carbon frame, 150mm of travel and rolls on 29-inch wheels. It has a 320 watt-hour internal battery in the down tube. Now this smaller battery powers Specialized own branded 1.1 motor, which can pump out 35 Nm of torque and a max peak of 240 watts. I'm hoping to make this bike a little bit more efficient and lose rotating weight by adding these Maxxis Icon cross-country tyres, which I'm running at 30 psi front and rear. So what might affect range? I need to point out that for today's ride in the summer and my winter ride, I will be using a variety of modes, all the way from eco up to turbo, as this will replicate a real ride scenario. But there are several other factors that could affect this ride. How far can I ride in lower power modes will be essential. This will be limited by the surface traction and the steepness of the trail. How little we can use the battery using turbo mode. What percentage of the loop can be ridden above the speed limiter in both conditions. My Christmas gut after eating too many Christmas pies. My fitness and colder weather might take a slight bit more from the battery. However, the bike, the tyres, the tyre pressures and setup are identical. It's really important to factor in the difference in terrain on those longer rides. And it's also worth noting that if you are up in the mountains, not to rely on those range calculators. They are just a guide only. Mud, rocks, roots, it's all going to make a big difference as to how far you can go on that one charge. Right, we are just about to get this ride underway, and it might look like a nice blue clear sky, but in fact it is really cold. And as you can see, my battery percentage is actually on a full charge. You know, it's that cold, it's actually dropped to 99% just from my house to where I'm going to start the ride. So just shows you the level of temperature here, and as we know, that makes a massive difference when it comes to range. But let's kick this off, switch your Garmin on so we're all good to go. So that's started. Right, let's get into it. Okay, so checking on the Garmin, we are just over 3 miles into our ride, and looking at how much battery I got left on Smart Control, it's saying 94%. So we're gonna hit the off-road stuff. I think we're gonna see a bit of a difference. Right, let's crack on. 4 and a bit miles of road work to get to our trails. Pretty much everything is off-road from now on. Right, I have switched up to trail mode. I'm not gonna lie, because a tractor's been through here and absolutely blown this trail to bits, and it is super hard going in eco mode. Like I said, it's super slippy along here. That was pretty close, got caught in a rut then. Right, unsurprisingly, that climb has in fact taken another bar out of the battery, so we just dropped to 80%, and we're 7 miles in to our ride now with 763 feet of elevation, sorry, 757 feet of climbing done, and ride time is 43 minutes. And as I say, 7 miles done, and we've used 20% of the battery so far, in some pretty nasty conditions too. Just look at the state of this. This is what we've been riding today. As I mentioned, it is an absolute bog and an absolute slugfest the whole way around, even with an e-bike. And this is definitely eating into my range pretty hard. We're gonna crack on, engage turbo, and keep those wheels turning, keep that momentum up. Right, another battery check in. We are down to 55%. Is looking like on mission control here. 11.05 miles and 1 hour, 15 minutes of riding. I'm just amazed at how much battery has been eaten in that last mile. That was pure off-road slop. So I'm working super hard. We've had to go into trail and even turbo for some of those real nasty climbs just to get up there and keep it fun as well. I mean, I could do it in eco, but it would be an absolute slog. I think the thing about riding an e-bike is you've got to keep it fun, right? Top, 35 mile an hour. Yeah, like being on a moped. All right, so just come out of the woods now. We're on 16.64 miles, so pretty much 17 miles. We've got 4 bars of battery left, and it's just started raining mixed with hail. Now, of course, on my return journey, this is going to make the trails even more of a mess. And I feel the temperature has really dropped too. We've got like a snow actually forecast this weekend, so it is actually really bloody cold now, and definitely feeling this on my hands. I think this would quite possibly be the worst time to do a range video. The conditions really suck so bad at the moment. Oh. That was a huge drift then. Just managed to hold on to that. Nice. Right, we're approaching the last bit of trails before we get back near to my house. We are on 13% battery level. We've done 2.5 hours worth of riding, and we're at 22.25 miles. We're gonna see if we can get home on this remaining battery. Wish me luck. Oh my God. Super dark in these woods. Right, the red light has actually just come on at 23.5 miles, or 24.25 on my watch. So we're on reserve power. We're right down to eco, so just chilling on the way home now. Right, and here we are back to where it all began earlier on today. Obviously it was blue skies earlier. Now I've gone to a bit of a grey sky with rain and hail. But the ride, let's talk about that in a bit more detail. So we've ridden for nearly 3 hours here, 2 minutes 52 seconds. And if you think about how much distance you can travel in better conditions than what we've ridden in today, then that is a hell of a lot of riding. You know, the distance we traveled, obviously in dire conditions, wet, cold, mud, deep mud as well, really energy sapping, and of course, not particularly high average speed. We managed to do 25.28 miles. So some pretty good distance there. Total ascent was 2,293 feet. So quite a lot of climbing and pretty similar descending too. So that's a big day out for a 320 watt hour battery. And as I mentioned, you can get that 160 watt hour extender to further increase the range of this bike. And that is the winter ride over. I hate it as much as I love it. I mean, look at the state of my bike, my kit, all that washing to do. Roll on the summer. Right, time to get this show on the road then. So switcher on at 100% battery level. The Garmin switched on. Right. Let's get going, see how many miles we can get out of this baby. This ride is a massive contrast to those winter conditions last time, but as you can see there's still puddles around, so we could have a little bit of mud, but it's kind of a typical British summer at the minute. We get a week of boiling hot sun and some massive thunderstorms, so could be a bit of a mix and match out in the woods. I'm literally freewheeling now. When I had to come down here in winter, I had to pedal the whole way, so pretty crazy how seasons change and how much it can affect your riding too. This is crazy. Let's get back down into eco and save on those watt hours. But you can see in here, it's definitely looking a bit muddier. I hate to say it, I think I've got a flat rear tyre. Excellent. It's not all fun and games. Yep, that is a definite flat tyre. So of course I'm prepared. I've got a spare tube, so let's whip that in and crack on. Okay, puncture is now fixed and we are about set to go in a second. Right, let's crack on. So Chow conditions today, I wouldn't say are bone dry, they're not dusty, but they are so much different to what I rode in the middle of winter. Right, so we're just literally kicking up to 5 miles as we come to the top of the climb at Windhill. We dropped 1 bar on the battery, so we lost 10% of battery. We've been riding now for actual ride time around 37 minutes. Okay, time for a little data check-in. We've been riding for just an hour now. Battery is at 67%, as you can see on Mission Control app. Some data, we've ridden 9.3 miles, elevation of 983 feet. Looking at the batteries still, obviously around 60%. What that extra 10% is going to allow me to do is I've ridden exactly the same route as what I did in those winter months, but now I can add in this extra loop on the trail simply because I've got that little bit more battery. I'm going to add this bit in, then jump back on the same return route to home and hopefully get there without having a flat battery, but time will tell. Of a jungle trail. Ducking and diving. Okay, so another bit of data check-in. We've done just over 16 miles now. I just want to talk a little bit about the settings that I've got this bike on. So Eco is 35%, Trail 60%, and of course Turbo with that 100% assist, and peak power at 100% too. And obviously that's the same across the board in Eco, Trail and Turbo. Okay, we are down to 3 bars now, so 30% battery on this windy little nadgery climb. Okay, we just dropped back into the woods after a long climb. We dropped down to 2 bars left on the battery now. Just over 21.1 miles. Okay, the red light has just flicked up onto our reserve 10% left of battery. The good news is that we've gone close to 27 miles now, so we have exceeded it. If not by much, we have exceeded it, which was hopefully to be expected. Right, so I just climbed up this last little hill right by my house, and she has finally turned off. We've got 0% battery left on mission control. We've clocked up 31.1 miles, 2,531 feet of climbing, and been out for 3 hours, 40 minutes pretty much of ride time. So that's it, that is the end of my summer ride, and boy was that good, feeling that sun beating down on me and riding those dry and dusty trails. A lot different ride to winter. So how much difference was there between the summer versus the winter trail conditions? Well, first up, the biggest difference was the distance traveled. In winter, I managed to get 26.24 miles from my bike using the same settings as I did for summer. Summer saw me travel 31.1 miles, so pretty much 5 miles extra of riding. And of course, extra riding means extra enjoyment out there on the trails. I wasn't really going that much faster in summer, it's just that there's less drain on the battery due to the ground conditions and added weight from the mud on the bike. Common sense really. And it just goes to show how capable 320 watt hours of battery really is. I mean, if you doubled the size of that battery to 640 watt hours, pretty similar to what we have in bikes of today, those figures would be pretty respectable given those conditions. But let us know down in the comments about your biggest rides that you've done, particularly if you're on the Levo SL. We'd love to see how many miles you're getting out of your battery, or whether you prefer riding in winter compared to summer. Get involved, love to hear from you guys. Give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed today's video. Make sure you subscribe to EMBN and give us a find and follow on your favorite social media too. And we shall see you in the next one.